because that is what I see in people, is that once they become aware, they cannot help but create an immense positive change for everybody around them. And that's the humbleness of doing what I do, because having the human experience and the human awakening, it's also opening up to the human challenges. So
hi everybody, and welcome back to Spiritual Talk. Today we have another fantastic guest, and I've been practicing this lovely lady's name for the weekend because you know my pronunciations are not the greatest at the best of times. So here goes. We have the lovely Christel Rosenkilde. I see I've even said that wrong. We'll try again. Christel Rosenkilde.
Doesn't matter. Christel Rosenkilde Christenson.
Welcome to the show.
And it doesn't matter.
You know, we even tried it in the warm-up and it worked. And I got it. As soon as we go live, I start to fluff it. But here we are. Let's keep going. Let's keep rolling. Welcome to Spiritual Talk TV, and thank you for joining us today. Before we start, I want to talk a little bit about what it is you do, because you're unique in a way in terms of, yes, you're a medium, but you also work with leadership and consciousness and top performance. And can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Well, it's a large topic, but I will try to take it to only talk about it for a few seconds here. But what I do essentially is that I assist leaders and top performers, entrepreneurs, conscious people who are willing to work with themselves and their mission to be the very best of what they can be, not only for themselves, not only for the great results we can co-create, but also for the good of the world.
Yeah.
And I believe that the more we work with elite consciousness or consciousness, the connection that we can have and the connection that we can live every second of what we are and who we are, then we are not only standing in our true power, but we are also making a difference in the world, no matter who we are. And these are the people that I love to work with, that have that interest at heart. So no matter who calls me up or write me from across the world, that is one of the things I look for choosing to work with them, is that they profoundly want to be the best version, but also want to make a difference with who they are.
Yeah, and you work with a vast spectrum of people from all different types of levels of society, in terms of business leaders to individuals that are not necessarily business leaders, but they want to grow personally. And you're also an author. You've also, because we touched on the fact that you're a medium. Now, what came first for you? Was it literally an awakening, an opening with your mediumship?
No, it was very different to most stories you hear, because since I was born, I saw and sensed energy to me, and I thought everybody did. So growing up, I always was very lucky. I always was very happy. I was in a flow. I was taken on a flow throughout my life, in being, if I wanted to do sports, I within short time entered an elite team, or if I wanted to do music, within very short time I had my own band. And when I went into high school and university, it became very clear to me that everything became very easy for me within anything I chose to do. And when I was 26, very early in life, I had taken several degrees in university, business schools and MBA classes. And I had very shortly after landed a global management position in an American company with 45 teams around the world. And little did I know that nobody else saw and sensed energy like me. And what I had also not been very aware of was that I had created many different groups of friends. So that when there were conflict, when there were judgmental talk and back talk and everything we have, you know, when we see around the world, that people are human.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I would just divert to the next group of friends. If it was in school, I just went to another table in the break, or later in life, I would have different kinds of groups with different passions so that I could be with them with their passions instead of, you know, not so much gossip, not so much of that side that I saw would lower the energy, which took away life energy, which took away pleasures and joy in the individual. The life energy of everybody would decrease. I saw that as a natural, I saw that as a given, and I was wondering why people would choose negativity. The same when I then entered the global management position, I would look at my peers, and I was very young compared to them. So I, of course, did not have the life experience to understand what I then was learning. But I was looking at everybody thinking, how can they be so self-centered? How can they work only within their own field? How could they not have an interest in uplifting everybody? Because if you uplift everybody, then everything will be better, and you'll have greater results, and you'll create greater impact with everybody you work with. So it was only after getting to know everybody, getting to know the individual of them and understanding their hearts and their extreme efforts into doing the best they could, I realized one day in an executive meeting, I looked around the table, knowing them, I was like, and it literally, people talk about awakenings, but I had a human awakening. I realized that they don't see energy. They don't experience energy the way I do. They don't have the clarity and insights with solution that match everybody in the company, in the stakeholder chain, in the world. They don't see that ripple. They don't see the coherence. They don't see how things, how they go together, that we are interconnected. They don't see that. And then shortly after that, we can call it human awakening. I never called it that before. I had a call from home. At that time, I was based in Shanghai and traveling around the world 130 days per year at a minimum. And I had a call from Denmark, where I'm from and where I live now, that my brother was taken ill. And it seemed to be quite serious with his heart. He's perfectly well now.
Good.
And I was seeing a life coach, and she was asking me questions about, you know, are you happy where you are now? And I was like, yes, you know. And she said, so what do you have? I said, I have an excellent career, I have great friends, I travel, so I get to meet my friends across the world. You know, everybody is giving me credit for how young I am compared to what I'm achieving. And then we had a talk about my brother and how it hurt me and how I wanted to go back and stay with my family. And then she tricked me, and then she asked me, so Christel, what makes you happy in life? And I was like, close friends, family, nature, being able to connect to my spirituality. I've meditated every day since I was 12. So for me to be in my spiritual connectedness, be peaceful, be connected. And she was like, oh, that's strange, because I asked you to begin with, are you happy? And I asked you what you had. And what makes you happy is two very different things.
Yeah.
And that took me right back into my heart, because with my educations, with my my travel into the human experience, like developing all the skills I had to use to be human, I also distanced myself from my spirituality, because I realized creating results in the human world the way it was 25 years ago was very different from being connected to my spirituality. And if I was too connected, if I meditated every day, if I was in tune with what I saw and sensed was what would be creating empowerment of people and the world, I could not be where I was, ingrained in the old days ways of doing business.
Yeah.
So with a flash of an eye, I quit my job and I went back to Denmark to be close to my family. And I meditated for 3 months asking, why do I have the academia that I have? Why do I have the global business experience? If I am this person who is here to bring awareness into the world with spirituality, what does it all, why have I taken that path that took me so far away from my essence? And every single day that I meditated, a new part of a concept called energetic leadership that I then built was given to me, how to describe to business executives, athletes, top performers. It could be in arts, it could be entrepreneurs who truly wanted visionary people in all sorts of walks in life. And I then traveled to CERN, the Nuclear Institute in Switzerland, spoke to some quantum physicists and talked about energy and how I saw energy and how they could describe how I saw energy. So I just built a concept for bringing awareness into top performance, basically.
Yeah.
And that concept then rippled because during my student time in the academia, I also studied mediumship and started probably around 21. I studied mediumship and wanted to build my way of evidence-based way of seeing my imagery so I could use it in my work and in my studies, so that what I saw, I could create evidence and bring that to the real world and bring that into the human experience, because I so wanted to connect with people on an everyday level with who I was, but with my language, with what I saw in energy and in how we create life force energy in everything that we do. So that journey of bringing who I was through into human life, like the human awakening for me, that was, when I look back at it, it was an immense awakening and journey that I was on. And now 20 years later, I have clients in 30 countries and traveled the world many times, uplifting and empowering as many conscious visionaries, spiritual game changers, and individuals, as much as creating big change processes and businesses, creating a way forward with them so that they can be everything that they are, the spiritual and the human side, and bringing an incredible shift not only in their lives, in their businesses, in their results, but also the ripple effect that it creates into the world. And I am so humble when I talk about this journey, because I couldn't be more proud of having worked with that many people being willing to walk the path and create such a positive change in their own lives, that of the employees, and in the world. I cannot describe how humble I am when I look back at the efforts of these people, because that is what I see in people, is that once they become aware, they cannot help but create an immense positive change for everybody around them. And that's the humbleness of doing what I do, because having the human experience and the human awakening, it's also opening up to the human challenges. So I didn't experience the human challenges before very late in life. So I didn't understand the curves and what was holding people back and what could could make them not being the very best of themselves. So looking back now and see how the amazing things people do despite what they go through, that is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So many questions after what you've just said. Okay, can we start? Well, let's start the first place. Life force and energy, and you being aware of these subtle forces around you from a very early age. In terms of a thought, an idea. So let's say a company. I've created a company. I have 20 people working for me. Now, yes, I might have my influence on that company, and you've got 19 other people that are affecting that company. That in itself, I'm assuming that makes its own energy itself. Because a lot of companies, they struggle. There's a lot of boom and bust in the world. Some companies fail. Do you think if people work at their ethos, their philosophy, their spirituality of the company, it would help them to perform at a higher level?
It would make a massive difference. And in earlier days, we talked about a lot of culture. So in big and small companies, it was about company culture. And to me, that's amazing because that's a beautiful stepping stone to start talking about values and bringing consciousness into what is our vision, what is the values we want to protect and live. But if nobody is talking about spirituality, nobody's talking about what are we connecting ourselves to, what energy are we allowing, with what energy, what intention are we creating a vision, how are we hiring, are we hiring out of skill set and values? That's fine. But everybody can have really good values and really good skill set, but if they're scattered and if they're not connected, if they're not learning to apply their spirituality into an alignment with their spirituality and their competences and their intent together with a group in a consensus with what they are working with, then there is just so much wasted energy. And we in many companies see that one person can totally destroy an entire company.
Wow.
If the energy in the company is not strong, but if the energy in the company is strong, if people are aware, if they have worked with this, if they have learned to stand strong in each of their own energy and how they create a consensus and create a company energy, then one person can never destroy anything. Then either that person will develop a strong sense of own energy or that person will leave. And the same goes with, we have to remember it's the whole stakeholder chain, because a company is never just a company. So that is what I work with the head of the companies, is like you have an entire stakeholder chain. You have to be aware that people that you're selling to have an energy, that people you're buying from have an energy, that the entire world that watch your commercials, that watch your faces, if it's individuals who is marketing something, the whole world has an energy. And if you meet that energy in a disconnect or a disharmony, then no matter the good of a project and intention you have, but you have to match it to the energy of the receiver. So there's so many things that goes into aligning an energy in a company and applying it into individual top performance and a company or a mission. This could also be politicians that I work with, their campaigns, and the people that work with them, and the people of the country, the voters. So it's all about understanding that everything is energy, and everything that we build have an energy. And every thought, every choice, every action, and every way we choose to communicate in has an energy. And it's up to business owners or executives to set that energy. And I think that is the important message to get out there. And it's the same for self-employed. I'm working with a lot of self-employed people also that don't have a big staff. But if you look at what their thoughts and the vision is, what is their life mission? What are they meant to bring to the world?
Yeah.
Does that match the visions, their thoughts? Is it matching what they have put into the marketing, put into the products, put into their clients? And if they're not connected, if they haven't learned to bring in that ultimate energy of spiritual connection, their own life force and the need of the world, why are they here? They can work hard as, they can, I can't say that word that comes to mind, but they can work really hard and have very little success. So that alignment is essential for any kind of success. But the more spiritual we are, the more connected we are, the bigger the responsibility we also have, and we will be redirected from spirit every time we go out of course. We'll be brought a challenge that will take us back on course if we are aware, if we are bringing what I call elite consciousness into our life and into our performance. I'm passionate about this.
Yeah, I absolutely love the concept, because you're taking something that is there. Everything is energy. I mean, I was aware of subtle energies, but not understood them until I met a certain gentleman who helped me to develop that. He also worked with companies a long time ago, but I think we're coming out of this world where we're starting to open spiritually and psychically becoming more aware as individuals. But just coming back on a couple of things you said. Firstly, okay, if I came to you as an individual, I'm self-employed, how and what kind of tools could you help me? How would you try to get the best? Because I always worry that I'm not doing what I should be doing. So a lot of spiritual people, they connect with their higher self, they can get inspiration, but some of us then can get cut off from that and get caught up in everyday life. How do we avoid that? Sorry, it's about 4 questions there, Christel. I'm so sorry.
Well, to begin with, if an individual like you would come to me, there are 3 questions I always open up with. One is, are you here for a specific challenge? Are we here? Are we firefighting? Do we need to assist you with something that's going on that's crucial that we look at first? Or are you coming to me because you've heard that I can make this shift or that change with you? Do you want me to look into it from a broader perspective? Are we looking at the vision first? Are we looking at your path and then bringing who you are, what you're meant to do into what you're doing, and from there working with you for 8 sessions to begin with? Or are you somebody that are here wanting what you have? Do you want that into the world in a completely different way? So we can work with a challenge, we could work with the company or your mission that you're at now, or we can look at, is there something completely different you are meant to do?
Yes.
So that is how we start. And then everybody that works with me needs to understand that I never tune into people's or businesses' energies without being allowed. So the individual will have to accept that in the first session with me. And when I tune into that individual, there will be anything from their life. How do we bring balance into their life? How do we bring balance into their businesses? How do we bring that into their life purpose? How do we bring that into the world and into action? So I'll tune into all of these areas. When they have employees, I will not tune into the individuals, like the person. I'll tune into the energy between the people and the business. So what energy are they sending out? So I will not snoop in anybody's energy saying he's going through a divorce, the wife is doing this, he's having an affair, this or that. I'm not going into any of that. But I will be seeing, I'll be shown an imagery. I can say that this is a pharmaceutical company where I was sitting with the director. And I said, I'm being shown that you have 3 production companies in India. The one furthest south If you go in through the door and you turn right, there'll be a staircase. You go up to the second floor, you continue down the end of the hallway, and you'll see a man sitting with a big red painting behind him. He's in charge of the operations in India. That person's going through an incredible tough time. You'll need to reach him through somebody that he trusts. You'll need to assist him because personally his energy, his focus is somewhere else where he needs help. He's not neglectful. He is not in any way. He is capable of doing what he does, but something is going on. Is the person real? You need to support him. So that's how I will, if I'm looking into a global scope, looking into the different markets they're at, what kind of challenges do they have? How do they need to train individuals? How do they need to support individuals? The same company, we went to a company in the East, I think it was Vietnam, please don't hold me up on that detail, but they were having a supplier issue. And when I looked into it, I realized that it wasn't a supplier issue. They had to use their global influence and they had to put resources into train the sub-suppliers because it was the material that was handed to the supplier that brought the issue. So they had to go further out and train people in how to create the products, why is it important that it was farmed in a certain way. So I was seeing all the way out to the farmers that brought the essence of the product they needed for what the supplier was bringing to them. So in that way, it's just so things are either shown to me in remote viewing, so I'm going to places in the world where something needs to be changed so that the individual will be able to run his business better. And if it's an individual, it will of course not be this global scope. If it's an individual, it's very much seeing, I could maybe see that there is a link to the US, that there is something in the energy will bring me to the US, and then they will show me certain new words that you could put into the promotion of your podcast, and how the US is waiting to hear your voice more, and how you could bring your personality to the US because they were eager in the energy to have somebody who is having a healing energy as he's bringing things into the ether, bringing into the communication into the world. Because you have a healing energy and that country needs healing at the moment in the process they're going through now, but also in years to come after this election. There's a lot of brutal energy being brought into the US election. So there's a lot of healing. So people like you with healing capacity that talks to people will bring a certain healing. So how to convert vocabulary that you're using, pushing that towards the US as well as the rest of the world. But that could be a thing that would be shown to me that would bring a different twist to what you do and get more viewers and create a change in the world.
So did you just tune in to me? Because I have opportunities next year for America. So that's quite interesting. Okay. Honestly, Christel, I could talk to you all day. There's so much I want to cover here. Now, you clearly did a remote view. That quite is a specific skill set of its own. But I mean, again, you talk about the farmers in Vietnam creating the product. So like in the UK, the big supermarkets squeeze the prices on the farmers. So then potentially the farmers are making products that they're almost resentful for then selling that on to the supermarket. That energy is then put on the shelf. We are buying and ingesting that energy that has resentment in it. That can't be good for us.
It can't be good. It isn't good for you, but it isn't good for the supermarket. It isn't good for the farmers. It isn't good for anybody. I don't know. Did you read my book? Because there is an example with a pharmaceutical company in Switzerland where I spoke to the management, and they thought really bad of me because I started out by asking, so what is it you do? And they're like, did this woman not look into our website? Is she literally just showing up without any research?
Yeah.
And I looked in their eyes and I said, I can see what you're thinking, but I want to hear from your mouth what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, but we are selling fertility products, blah, blah, blah. I came this business speech and I said, that was what I thought, but I see you creating the opportunity for life. I'm seeing you creating life. I'm seeing you helping families, young couples, older couples, people out there to create families. You are healing people that have gone through great suffering to get to where they are.
Yeah.
So if I can help you to bring that message into the entire stakeholder chain in your and around your business, I can promise you at least 30% of better results in the end of the year. And this is just the minimum of what I can help you with. And I said to them, imagine if the man in the warehouse understands how important he is to bring life into families. So if he accidentally hit a box when he's driving in the warehouse, not hiding that there's a bump in a package, but he knows he's going to save life by not keeping that package on the shelf.
Yeah.
He knows he is saving life.
Yeah.
If the woman who is tired, who, sitting on Facebook, spending too much time on her own private thing, if she knows that her time spent away from her work while she's on work and paid for it, then she is decreasing the chance for creating more life out there in the world.
Yeah.
If you are squeezing, and that's why I got this thought, just sharing this thing for my book, is that if you're squeezing your suppliers because you're this amazing big company that everybody would dream to deal with, if you're squeezing them so hard in price, then they will go out and not find the best quality for you to create life. They're going to find the least expensive way to create something that you won't detect is less quality than what it was.
Yeah.
So the energy, but also the quality of what you get is going to get lesser. So why don't you sit around the executive table first and find out how can we improve everybody's lives in the entire stakeholder chain?
Yeah.
And when that's the intention, we can create great change.
Do you know,
because that's the energy that you're talking about.
Absolutely, and it's such a marvelous thing. And there will be some cynicism. There'll be people out there that put the buck or the pound or the cent above everything. They put money as their god, and we kind of have to crack that nut somehow, because we do need to shift our awareness into a more holistic life for a better existence. But that's such a big thing to do, and I know we have to do it one day at a time. And I'm sure it's going to come. But another point I wanted to come back to, I'm so sorry to be, my head is pinging all over the place, Christel. I'm so excited your philosophy, your work, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. But when we come back to the individual, and you said you don't spy on people in terms, you're not really interested in their life, but there is a duality, and what we do for humanity and what we do for ourselves. How do we bring that into harmony? So say I'm having a difficult relationship with my partner. How it then affects my performance, especially as I'm self-employed. That will affect my day-to-day performance, whether I like it or not. It will affect me on some level. How can I? Is there things you do to help people with that?
Absolutely, and I have a lot of that, because as you say, who we are and what we're able to give and perform is all depending on how well we're doing.
Yeah.
And how well our relationships are working. What I mean by I'm not going to spy on the other person's side is that I'm going to tune into the energy between you and the partner. I'm going to tune into the energy, and it could be what I see is that other person has a need that's not met within this specific thing. But then what I'm being asking for and looking into with my intuitive capacity will always be, what can you do to change it? So it's not about that other person, it's about then what can you do about it? So I will not go in and see what that partner had done or not done.
Yeah.
I'll look into the energy between you and that person. So I can always look into relationships, and the same with people's children. It's also about how can I assist them to help their children to change direction, or how can I assist them with the relationship with their children or employees or any relationship. There'll always be an energy emanated from both parties, and it's that energy that I'm looking into. And it's not that I can't do the other thing, and I tell you, there's so many psychics, clairvoyants, and mediums that do that. The thing is just, if I'm ethical around my energy and what I put into my work, things are going to bloom more for me and for the people I work with. If I'm entertaining, spying, and looking into how can we beat competition so they're worse off, I'll never do that, because it's going to degrade my own energy, my own life power, but it's also going to decrease the capacity for success and for conscious top performance. So I'll make everybody worse off by tuning in to areas where we are not. It would be like stealing the keys of somebody's house and then go in and get information, lock the door, put the key back in the bag and walk out. And that's where we have to be very conscious, because so many people across the globe are getting more and more intuitive, which also makes them able to blend their energies and sense energies to a greater extent. They don't understand why they're more stressed. They don't understand why they're easily getting ill. They don't understand why things are going wrong for them. And that's simply because for many of them, there's no ill intention. They just don't understand that their energy is so entangled with other people's energy that they are unable to be the best version of themselves and create luck, I call it luck, it's not luck, it's obviously synchronicities when we are connected. And that is where we are seeing that many conflicts, many things that are not evolving is actually because of the lack of awareness. And even worse, lack of awareness in highly spiritual people that are greatly talented in the spiritual field, but they have just not learned to become aware and apply their energetic being in a sense that grow their own lives and the people they help and the world. So please don't take this as I say there's a lot of ill-intended people out there. Of course there are some, and I've been having military coming up to me if I wanted to help them looking into where to target certain things, and I said no way, I'm not going to be a part of that. And I've had business people ask if I could build energy and work with energy in a company, can I then also harm energy with the competitors? And I said, of course I can, but I won't, because that's just not who I am. And people need to understand that even on a selfish level, why on earth would I do it when it decreases my own life quality, when it does the opposite of sharpening my energy, and it makes my connectedness, it will harm everything that I am. And if we look at the old-fashioned ways of doing business, it was so much about competitor analysis. How can we beat the competition? When I worked with athletes, how can I beat that athlete? I said, you know what? The more energy you send to the person that you're playing with, the more purposeful a match it will be. People around the world, when they're watching you on television, will be amazed with what they see. And then the person that are meant to win will win. And you suddenly just see sports people, the way they go about their sports, suddenly their lives are changing for the better. They are having much greater experiences in the competitions, and their followers are learning from them and changing their behavior to become more ethical, more supportive in their own lives. And when billions or millions are watching them on television, or now it's the internet, many of us watch things, that's where we can choose to use who we are for greatness, not only for ourselves, but in the world. And that's why I'm so fascinated and passionate about my work, because everybody has the ability to have a more elite conscious life. And no matter who we are, if we're a school teacher, if we're an executive, if we're a politician, if we are becoming elite aware, if we're bringing elite consciousness into everything that we do, the way we think, the way we choose, the way we act, the way we communicate, we're creating a ripple effect that we will never get truly to understand the power of. But one person, coming back to what you said earlier, we do need to change the world, and the world needs to be changed, but the individual need now to rise and become aware of their own power, because we matter much more than we know. And we are the ones that we've been waiting for. There won't be one leader that is going to take the lead and create massive change. Yes, we need global consensus in what is it that we want to see. But the more people that in their everyday life, no matter who we are, make that conscious shift, become responsible for the energy that we live and emanate into the world, suddenly we'll see greater change that any one leader could ever create.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping to be a small part of.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say, I don't know if you agree with this statement, it's probably more important to focus on self and your own performance in terms of not worrying about competition, not worrying about what the other person is doing. And if you focus on yourself and your own self-healing, that then emanates out into others, because your performance or even your vibration, your energy then potentially can change others around you to buy into the same thing. Even on a subconscious level, you could be changing that. So, like, again, you talked about sports people, and I'm gonna bit of a thing here. I love football. Okay. And football is a really interesting, very masculine, men's football, very competitive. Everyone's got to have the edge. But actually, if they focused on a lot of their, I mean, no psychologies come into football nowadays, but if they focused on themselves, being a better version of themselves, they would be competitive in their own right. So it's a very, very interesting subject. Can also we touch on, you've also created visionary guidance cards to help people. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I have the box here. We go.
Wow, awesome.
It was a deck of cards I got.
So that's awesome. I love the idea of these visionary cards. How do they work?
The intention I put into channeling the cards was for me to create a deck of cards that could be brought into any boardroom or any business, or that anyone could bring forward in a way and think, nobody would be disturbed by the spiritual energy. And why I say that is because I started going into this business for 20 years ago, and talking about energy meditation was nearly unheard of in the world of performance. Not in everything. This is thousands of years old, the wisdom. We know this comes from somewhere else, but to bring it into the world of performance, people were and still are many places scared of too many spiritual connotations.
Yes.
So when I built these cards, and I've always been fascinated with fashion and aesthetics, it's always been a part of me where, I don't know if people that are watching, I've trained at Arthur Findlay College for over 25 years. And sometimes when I was there, people were like, oh, you don't have to dress up to be here. And I'm like, I'm not. This is who I am. This is how I dress. This is how I go about in life. And I've had that criticism in so many areas of my work when I deal with spiritual people. But also when I traveled on my world tour, people that met me and heard that I was here to promote, like to meet as many people as possible and remind them for 1.5 years how much they matter. People are looking up and down like, oh, we wouldn't expect somebody like you looking like that to have that mission. And people were expecting something else. And I was born this way. I've always loved aesthetics and fashions and so forth. And I have my own brand with a Danish designer, how to assist women in business to shine more and to be, and this is my colors again, gold and white. And so the design of the cards are very, you can see this, they are white and gold. And so the same I did with the messaging and the wording, that it had to be something that you could bring into a boardroom and you could use these words with the energy behind it. So I sat down and I meditated, and the messaging came out of my hand within hours. And when finishing, I realized that the first third of the deck was about our own human energy and how we could optimize our own energy and realize that we are the ones that matter and how much our energy matters and how to build our energy. The second part is about how do we apply that into our own performance, how do we apply that into our family, into our business, and into everything that we do. And then the last third is about how do we connect to the world and realizing that we're global citizens, that we are a part of this world. Yeah. And then how can we harness from the energy of the world, and how can we as individuals influence the world, or how can we as a business influence the world positively? Yes. To assist not only us living in a better world, but improve the world for future generations. Yeah. So that's how these cards came about, so that they are presented in a way that wouldn't disturb any person who is not so much in the spiritual world, but being accepted by people who bring it in. And so that's how it came about. So I believe that's why they look very different than all the other cards that I have worked with throughout the years, and I admire and still use, because I use all kinds of tarots and oracle cards. I know they have immense value out there. I'm not saying that they don't have, and many leaders do use all sorts of cards, but these can be brought in to a room where everybody will be open and accepting of how they look. You don't have to have an excuse or start to explain yourself. It can be applied for any person wanting to work with a visionary scope.
So can I be devil's advocate here? Can I be the managing director of a company? Can you pull me a card if I was the managing director? How does it look like? Or just so people, I know we are so grateful you've given up your time, but I also know you have to do the school run. So we'll try and make this as quick as possible. But we are also, I'm so excited to announce we are going to do a live together. So people can also come in and ask the questions for Christel. And we can cover some of this a bit more on our live. So that's quite exciting. But just to promote yourself and some of your work, guys, you're also an author, Christel, as well, which we're going to put in the comments. All the details will be there, guys. All of Christel's work you'll be able to get your hands on. You'll be able to order from different bookstores. And we're going to be back very soon, in a couple of weeks, doing a live. So it's your opportunity to have a little look at what we're going to do and just ask your questions. Anyway, sorry, Christel, I've gone off on a tangent. So I'm kind of really curious how it works. So if I was in the boardroom with a mixed people and I asked for a card, how would that look? Is that how it would work?
It actually works in various ways. So I'll give you a few examples. But if I'm facilitating a workshop for the board or for an executive group, I'll always tune into how can I apply who I am and my tools in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So an example could be that everybody will get a deck of the cards. So they'll be put on the table, and I'll introduce these. When we've been introducing energetic leadership, bringing awareness into their energy and how they can be more intuitive, and how, and especially explaining very briefly about how we need to understand that there is our instinct and gut feeling, and then there is intuition.
Yeah.
And assisting them to untangle those concepts so that also that they become aware of their own emotions and their traumas, how that have an impact on their intuitive ability to tune into messages and carry on the best possible strategy or action. Brilliant. So that they in very few minutes become aware of their own limits and their absolute unlimitedness once they learn to apply these concepts.
Yeah.
And then I always tell them that I created these cards so that if they want affirmation or support in a challenge or building something new, they can either shuffle the card or just pull a card. And then a card like this would come up, time is now. And then for me, what this card say, and I'm pulling this for, of course, the concept you just gave me is a boardroom, but I would like everybody who's listening in to see that this message is for them.
Yeah.
So please, everybody, just know that this card has not been pulled by a coincidence. So this card says, procrastination is never the answer. Choose to take immediate and conscious action once aware of what is required. You are the one with the power to make a difference. So whatever is going on in your life, or whatever you judge, or whatever is your challenge, know that time is now to make a difference, and that you are the one who has the power to make a difference. So take some time, just in your own time, spend some quiet time, and connect yourself with that which is greater than yourself. If you're religious, connect to God. If you are more spiritual, connect to the universe. And if you're more liking the fact that you can connect to energy on a physical level, connect to the beautiful suns and stars and moons and our trees and nature. Yeah. And just replenish yourself and ask for an answer, and then go, whatever comes to you, act on it. But know that everybody needs to hear this, apparently, who is watching this show now. Yeah. You know more than the person or the situation that you're in, so you need to be the one with the higher standard. You need to be the bigger person. Yeah. So this card is not only saying time is now, but you need to be the bigger person in finding a solution. So in a boardroom, the person who would pull this card, I would look this person in the eye and says, apparently, you are sitting here with a challenge, and there is something you have been afraid of saying to become unpopular, or you have seen before that people wouldn't listen to this kind of solutions. But apparently you see that you are limited in this situation, and you know the solution. Now you need to pick up your self-confidence and dare to say the answer. And I'm not leaving the room before you have told everybody what you believe about this situation and how we're going to solve it. And I will help you. I'll tune in with you, so we'll find the bigger picture answer. But you have the key to whatever challenge we now need to find a solution for. Brilliant. And then we'll work with that. And then that person will definitely be the key with some sort of information that we needed to find the solution in the boardroom for a specific challenge.
Fantastic. And on an individual level, that's also quite a powerful card. Yeah, I felt that.
Absolutely.
As soon as you said procrastination, I thought, felt that. Yeah, I felt that with myself. I can be guilty of procrastination. I know we all can at times, but it is a powerful card. And I love what you're doing. Can we briefly talk about your books you've got out, published at the moment?
Yeah. Can I just say, before we just briefly talk about my books, I think when you heard the thing about procrastination, one of the things that has been the biggest journey for me as an individual is that we have to allow ourselves to be human.
Yeah.
And never judge ourselves for any human behavior. Procrastination is one thing. We can say, "Oof, I knew I had to do something about it." But in general, life is such a strong power and can take us onto journeys that we hadn't expected. If in trauma, if in difficult situation, we will see ourselves reacting in a way we probably wouldn't have expected or that we didn't quite like. And these are the situations where we need to trust the most that we are human and we're here for a reason, and we need to reach out either for help or that we need to step up and do what we need is right. Either of the two. If we can't step up and do what we know is right, reach out for help. Or if we know what's right and we just need to take a deep breath, and it's just about course correcting.
Yeah.
Because I've lived a very protected life until only 7 years ago. I'd never lost a dear loved one very close to me. I hadn't been in any conflict with anybody. I've been traveling the world, but in my own solitary life. I didn't have partners because I didn't think that was my path. So I didn't understand the ups and downs and how we need to take care of ourselves and the other person and still go to work and be the optimum version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then I had a journey the last 7 years. I became a mom. I became a single mom. I had to deal with her dad and his family. I lost my dear grandmother, who was my greatest cheerleader since I was born. I went into, like a single mother, into COVID, and with the effects, the financial effects of Ukraine, seeing my business being completely shattered, where I still wanted to be the best for my daughter and the clients that I could still help, and then having to resurrect from that. And I'll just have to say to everybody listening in that we cannot judge ourselves. We will see sides of ourselves and we will have challenges. Nobody is exempt from challenges. So what is the most important thing is that we apply our awareness and elite consciousness to continue to trust the path and continue to trust that the way we reacted, that other person needed, either to grow or to show us something that we needed, and most time both things. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that I don't come across, when I talk about elite consciousness and talk about the ideal, that it's shameful to be human, because that is what I work with. It's human beings, and I assist them with everything that's going on to become the best possible version of themselves in the midst of life and the situation of the world. So I hope everybody listening in, that they feel that they are the perfect version of themselves. If I work with them or somebody else, I'm only assisting them to achieve a next level of what they already are. Yeah. And I hope that's something that comes across.
It absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
So also that actually takes me on to a chapter that I have in the book called Demystifying Mediumship.
Yeah.
The creator of this book is Carrie Alderocchio. I hope I say her name right. I think you can purchase this on Amazon. And it was a very hard decision for me to be a part of this book, because she wanted personal examples of how being spiritual and being so energy driven, and the fact that I see everything and sense everything, how does that impact my life? There's some examples here from pretty revealing examples, but also it's about being a medium, and I haven't been very open about it. I've used it on a discretionary levels with the clients that were open for that side. So it's been exciting to be a part of this project, and there's 16 other amazing mediums that has been promoted this book too. Then I have my own book.
Christel, am I right in saying that other book is available at the Arthur Finney College as well? I'm sure I've seen it there. I've seen that available.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know
Yeah.
it's on the shelves. Yeah.
Wonderful. And we can get it on Amazon as well, yeah?
Yes, yes, you can.
Great stuff.
And then you have my book called The Treasure,
Yeah.
How to Change the World. It's about energistic leadership, the concept that I pioneered 20 years ago as an agent for visionary change. And it's very much about the energy that we hold, how we can expand our energy. And then there are 9 different chapters in total, but there's 7 different chapters with different cases of how I assist in everything from sales in a business, in assisting an athlete in his top performance, assisting him from when he was number 14 in the world until he was number, I think, 5 on a complete level, but up to 2 second in the world when I went on maternity leave. There is a beautiful example in the end about a CEO who brought his 7-year-old daughter to me because she was shattered when her grandmother died. Oh. And when I started talking to her, we found out that the fact that the dad took an MBA and the mother was self-employed, she suddenly, instead of having the grandmother's attention, she came home after school without being babysat by her grandmother and looked at her mother, looking into a screen, looking at the father, looking into his books, and she felt unloved. Oh. And that was how, and then they're showing what this family did. It's an incredible family. I'm still assisting them, and the daughter is now grown up, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story about how we as individuals can make simple choices that change us a lot. Yeah. So you can buy, at the moment, you can buy that on my website as a very inexpensive ebook. Yeah. I'll get it back out on the shelf, but the last years my focus has been on my child, not so much on distribution. So at the moment you can get it on my website. Yeah. And they're guided meditations. We don't sell CDs anymore, but there are MP3s to be bought on the website as well.
Lovely.
And many other things.
Always helpful for people to sit in that space and connect, and that's what's really important. Christel, it's been an absolute pleasure being here, for you to be here today. It's been, well, we can't thank you enough for giving up your time, and we're so looking forward to seeing you on our, which will be our first live for a very long time. So that's super exciting. So guys, look out for that, and we'll see you all very soon. But bye for now, guys.
Thank you for having me, and see you soon, everybody.